First off, thanks for having me on your podcast. I do appreciate it, and it's always fun to get a chance to share, the share what we're doing, and get to share a little bit about some of the cool and exciting locally owned gyms that we get to visit and things like that. And anything we can do to promote these gyms, I'm happy to do. So a little bit about me. It's always harder to do. I always love talking about gyms, but talking about me is always a little bit harder. So I'm a Navy veteran. So I was in pretty good shape back then. You can't not be in pretty good shape and be in your 20s in the Navy. But then over years of coaching my kids' sports teams and traveling between practice to practice and eating McDonald's in between practices and on the go all the time, I found myself pretty overweight. So it wasn't. I tried to lose weight, kept going to like big box corporate gyms, as I would call them now. I didn't really know that's what they were at the time, and I kept quitting because it was such a miserable experience. Like working out there wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. It was just such a chore that I just kept quitting. So I just kept getting bigger and bigger. Finally, 2019, I got to about 300 pounds. And at that point, I was like, I need to do something or I'm going to die. Like, I've got two kids, I got a wife, I can't be 300 plus. Like, that's just not safe. So I finally axed the corporate gyms and I went to a small local fitness center and I joined their gym and they adopted me as part of their family. If I missed the gym for a couple of days, they're like, dude, where you been? Like, and then as I started getting in shape, they were always like, hey man, keep it up. We're watching you, keep it up. And I got motivated and I got excited about fitness because it wasn't like I wasn't excited about fitness those other times. It wasn't the same experience. Once I became a part of a family and became a part of a community, it was just so much easier to go to the gym every day. So, through that process, I lost 70 pounds in 2019. And then about December, I started noticing I had weird fatigue. You can't lose 70 pounds in 1 year and not measure everything that goes in your body, not be in the gym 6 days a week. Like I was dialed in and I shouldn't have had fatigue. So I started going to my doctor and I was like, hey, like I have fatigue that I shouldn't have for somebody who goes to the gym 6 days a week and is on point with my nutrition. And he's like, well, let's run tests. He's like, nothing's wrong with you. I'm like, dude, there's something wrong. So we ran more tests and more tests. And he finally, after like a barrage of different tests, he's like, the only thing I can figure out is you have low testosterone. And maybe that's what's causing you to have fatigue. You should go see a urologist. So I go to the urologist and he's like, well, it's low, but it's not low enough for me to do anything about, which is an entire other soapbox that we won't get into. Because it just frustrates me how hard it is for men to get testosterone that they need. But he's like, well, while you're here, let me check you. So he checked me, super unpleasant. But he's like, I hate to tell you, but I found something. So it turns out that I had prostate cancer and we caught it so early that it wasn't even showing up in my blood work yet. My only symptom was the fatigue that I was experiencing. If I hadn't lost 70 pounds that year before, I wouldn't have noticed I had fatigue. I would have just thought I was fat and that's why I was tired. So I kind of felt like, you know what, a locally owned gym, some people might say this is a little bit hokey, but I don't. A locally owned gym helped save my life because I was only 47 years old. You're not supposed to have prostate cancer at 47. So I might not have gotten checked for 3 or 4 more years. And when they took everything out, because I just went ahead and I was like, get rid of it. Just let's be aggressive. It was already 15% of my prostate. So it was a pretty, I'm thinking it was a pretty aggressive version of prostate cancer, which is normally a pretty slow growing. If mine was already 15% and it hadn't even shown up in my blood work yet, I don't think that was slow. So then I was obviously dealing with cancer during 2020. We had the COVID shutdown, and the gym had become my mental refuge. That was where I went to stay positive. And I watched as so many locally owned gyms went out of business during COVID. And I was like, this is an industry and this is a community and a group that has done a lot for me. And I wanted to do something to give back. So several years ago, my best friend and I started going on gym trips where, like you hear of guys that go on golf trips and they'll go out and they'll hit like a different golf course every day. Well, we would go somewhere and we'd hit like 2 or 3 gyms every day. and just go to different gyms, because when you're hitting locally owned gyms, everyone's a different experience. It's like a completely different vibe, different equipment. It's completely different. So we started doing that, and I was like, what if we took our gym trips and we started posting those online and doing reviews of locally owned gyms to help promote them? So at that point, it was just, it was an idea. It was something small. We were kind of like, oh man, like maybe like we'll do this and it'll catch on a little bit and we'll get some free day passes or something. We weren't thinking huge. But then the gym owner community kind of like really got excited about what we were doing. Really kind of brought us into their community. Let us be, I kind of opened their doors to us. A lot of gym owners have been super awesome. And I just got super excited about it. It became a real passion. And now I've done over 250 gyms probably in the last 2.5 years.
Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. How did you pick the ones that you first initially went to?
The first gyms we hit, we were like, because I was doing this at the beginning with my best friend, and he's coming back. He's had some health issues, and he kind of stepped away for a little while, but he's coming back. When we first started, we were like, okay, if we're going to do gym reviews, we have to start at Bev Francis, because Bev Francis is the mecca of the East Coast. I live on the East Coast. Let's start our reviews at Bev Francis. So Bev Francis was the first gym we ever reviewed. And then we hit probably 5 other gyms on Long Island that trip. And they were cool. So we went to Long Island to hit Bev Francis, and then we hit some other gyms while we were up there, if that makes sense. And then I started hitting gyms. I live in Maryland, so I started hitting as many gyms as I could in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And then anytime I would go on a trip, either for business or personal or family trips or anything, I would try to hit 1 or 2 gyms every day that I was on a trip and stuff like that. When I turned 50, my wife asked me what I wanted to do. So I was like, I want to go to Nashville, and I wanted to go to Brandon Curry's gym in Nashville, and that was super cool. Met some really cool people out there. So it's just been a matter of like trying to figure out I love to travel anyway, but trying to figure out how I can travel and when I can travel and how many gyms I can hit when I'm traveling.
What was that experience like for you, going in and knowing this is going to be more than just I'm going in and working out? Like, I'm really trying to take it all in. I'm trying to kind of feel the whole experience and just all of it that's involved. How was that kind of challenging to flip it from I'm going to work out to I'm going to have like a deeper experience?
It honestly kind of evolved over time. Like on that first trip, we went to Bev Francis 3 times in one day because we weren't anyone, and we paid our day pass. The Bev Francis gym day pass is a 24-hour day pass. So we hit that gym 3 times, and we did a really hard workout each time we went there. And we weren't really going there with a thought process. All right, we need to get all our photos. We need to talk to the members. We need to talk to as many people as we can and soak up the atmosphere as much as we can. We were really just going there to work out, and we were going to collect our thoughts when we were done. Over the first 50 gyms, that process really changed a lot. I stopped wearing headphones in the gym because I want to be approachable. I want to be able to talk to people in the gym. I talk to as many people as I can. Because you really you go to a gym to review it. You're there for that day. The members who are there every day will really tell you the truth. They'll tell you oh, this is a great gym. The owners are constantly making updates, or when equipment gets broken, that gets fixed right away. Or they'll tell you that treadmill has been down for 3 months, or this cable machine hasn't been fixed in 6 months. Right. So they'll tell you the truth. The members will. So I try to talk to as many members as I can, and they let you know what the atmosphere is like too, because it changes throughout the day. So it's definitely evolved over time.
Was it kind of hard for people to for you to do it, but people also to open up in a certain way?
It was interesting at first because there were definitely gym owners that got what we were doing or what I was doing right away. There's a gym owner in Indiana that found out what I was doing. I was coming to town, And he was like, hey, I got 3 gyms. If you meet me at this gym, I'll give you a key fob. You can go to the other gyms anytime you want.
Oh.
I mean, he just got it. He was on board, supportive as possible. Other gym owners were like, there was a gym owner in Virginia that when I was talking to him, he was like, dude, nobody knows who you are. Now granted, at this point, he's super supportive, very cool, loves what we're doing. But, at the beginning, it was hard. Like people, nobody does this.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody goes around and only reviews locally owned gyms.
Did it make you nervous at all to approach people and be like, hey, this is what we're doing? And did you find yourself thinking, is it going to be better to just do this kind of more on the low, or, how best do I do this? Do I tell them afterwards? Do I, did that ever cross your mind at the beginning? Like, how should I really go about doing that? Almost more like an undercover boss kind of deal, or like, did it ever cross your mind? Like, let's kind of keep this on the low and then maybe like pop out and be like, hey, we are here and we've been doing this.
Not really. My day job is a school teacher. I've been teaching high school graphic design for the past 16 years. And like with teaching, it can become a grind and it can be really hard. But then that one kid comes and tells you that like you've made an impact on their life. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So whenever it was starting to become a grind, or whenever it started to become tough, or I started to give it like, man, like gym owners aren't really buying in, or they're not really getting it. Or one gym owner to be like, thank you for coming to my gym. Or like, hey, when are you coming to my gym? People started reaching out and going, hey, when are you coming to my gym? Please come to my gym. Or like really being like overly thankful that we were coming to their gym and stuff like that. So for every one person that was negative, we were getting 2 or 3 people that were positive, or at least it was 50-50 after the first few gyms.
Did you ever consider like gimmicky things?
I've never really been as worried about our followers. Like, I honestly feel like we should have way more followers than we have. I feel like everyone who finds our page and finds our content and finds, hopefully our website will be up soon. They love what we're doing. They love the content, but I never really was like, okay, let me do something kooky or out of the box just to get followers. I wanted to stay very pure to what we were doing. Every time we did a review, every time we went to a new market, the gym owners were starting to respect us more and more. And I knew that respect and those relationships that we were building with these gym owners was very valuable. And doing something gimmicky just to get followers was going to crush that. I never looked at us as social media influencers. Mm-hmm. I always looked at that we're providing information, we're providing a service, and social media is just a way for us to provide that for now until we have enough content and we have enough stuff built up so that we can launch our website.
So along the way of doing these things and reaching out to people, did you ever have an experience of like, well, that was interesting, that gym review, maybe things just didn't go quite as planned there. Not sure exactly what to do with this. Did that ever happen along the way?
Are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
Oh, I've had a couple of those. I did it early on. I did a review of a gym, probably only 30 minutes from my house. I went to the gym super early, talked to the lady who was working the front desk, talked to a few members. One of them got a little rude with me, and I put that in the review. Well, the owner was pissed, and he called me and he was like, hey, like, this is uncool. Like, you're hurting my business and this and that. And I was like, look, like, I'm new to this, because it was really early on. Like, I'm new to this. I'm still learning. I see what you're saying. He's like, I can't control my members, but yes, you can. Anyway, as I've learned, as you go along, you definitely can't control your members to some extent, if that makes sense. So I was like, look, why don't I come back? let's schedule a time. I'll meet you at the gym. You can show me your gym the way that you think it should be shown. So him and we set up a meeting. We sat down and talked about the gym for like a half an hour, 40 minutes. He walked me around the gym. I worked out, talked to some members. It was a much better experience. And I redid the review. Like, it's never my purpose to do anything to harm the reputation of a gym. My goal is to promote locally owned gyms and to be a tool to help locally owned gyms get new members and to get people to recognize how great they are, while at the same time needing to be honest. I'm not going to lie and promote a gym or say things about a gym that aren't true, but at the same time, I'm always going to try to find some positives.
What are some of those things? You mentioned, gym owners do kind of have a way to control their member. Like what does that look like in gyms?
Well, I mean, I've spoken to like a couple hundred gym owners at this point, and I mean, you can tell like the gym owners who are active in the gym and showing that they genuinely care about the gym and they're making updates and they're keeping the gym clean. They don't even have to do anything. Like, their members will police the gym themselves. Like, if you set the tone and you set the culture and you let people know, like, this is what we're accepting, this is what we're not, this is what's not acceptable. And if somebody's doing something that isn't acceptable, you don't worry about, oh, I'm going to lose that membership. You ask them to go work out somewhere else because you know that's going to make it better for the rest of your membership, and don't worry about making that one person mad. It just sets the tone and the culture for your entire gym.
It's interesting. I've never really considered how members can set the culture. I mean, it's who you're working out around though, right? It's
100%.
Whose energy that you are seeing and taking part of when you are in there with them. That's a really interesting point that maybe even a lot of new gym owners wouldn't even consider. They're like, oh, well, we have good stuff. We have good music. We have good, lighting. We have good this. We have good that. So everything's going to be great. But yeah, that member aspect, or even potentially, I mean, you could speak on this better than I could, but more so even than the staff at some point, because the staff a lot of times are going to be the ones you first see, but not the ones that you're seeing the most.
Oh, completely. And one of the things I always say to gym owners is, your equipment might get someone into the gym, but your atmosphere is going to keep them there. So creating the right atmosphere is super important. And I think it's the most important thing. So part of that is, gym owners, especially at the beginning of the gym, while the culture is being established, being active, being in the gym, setting a presence, and whenever anybody isn't abiding by the rules or getting out of hand, removing them from that situation, or just letting them know, hey, this isn't what we do here. And I think the more active and the more people see that the gym owners care about the gym, the more they care about the gym. I've been to gyms where it's obvious that the gym owner is a business owner, not a gym owner. And there's a very big difference.
Mm-hmm.
They own the gym as a business. They run it as a business, just fine. It's a business. But there's a very big difference from that and a passionate gym owner that cares about the gym and that people know they care about the gym. They're present in the gym. They're asking their members for feedback. They're getting the equipment that the members want. The music's the way the members want. So yeah, those kind of things make a huge difference.
So for you, going through different gyms throughout the country, did you notice at all that like certain actual physical locations ever were just better in general? And when I say that, like, I'm trying to think of like I
think I know what you're asking. Like, gyms do change throughout the country to some degree. Mm-hmm. Like, I was shocked when I went to New England about how many really badass gyms there are in New England. You think about New England being more of a conservative area, like more like city vibe kind of things. But it used to be such an industrial hub of the United States, and it's not anymore. So now you have all of these huge brick and stone buildings that used to be factories and are now big, giant open spaces. And people have bought them or rented them or leased them. And they've put really cool huge gyms in these super old buildings, and just the vibe in there is so cool. So that was kind of surprising, just the size and the like cool factor of those old building New England gyms.
Mm-hmm.
Like Iowa, I think a new bodybuilding gym just recently opened up in Iowa, but we went through Iowa, could not find a bodybuilding gym. There were powerlifting gyms, couldn't find a bodybuilding gym.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then there are other parts, like in the DC metro area, we have like multiple of what I would call some of the best bodybuilding gyms in the country. You know, like Raleigh, North Carolina seems to be more of a powerlifting area. They've got, I went to like 5 powerlifting gyms there and 1 bodybuilding gym. Charlotte is more of a bodybuilding gym area. Most of the gyms I went there were either fitness centers or bodybuilding gyms. So it's interesting how like it can change from one town to the next.
I've never considered like how the culture does impact the kind of the availability too.
Yeah, I mean, somebody did just open up one that looks pretty cool, and I haven't been up there yet. But I think one of the things that's cool is a trend that I'm seeing a lot is these hybrid gyms. Like there's a lot of guys that are starting out with powerlifting gyms. I think it's probably a lot easier to start with a powerlifting gym because you don't need as much equipment. You need tons and tons of plates, but you don't need as much equipment. To be a really good bodybuilding gym, you have to have a ton of equipment. So powerlifting needs the essentials, tons of plates and the essentials. And powerlifting, at least the powerlifters that I've met in the powerlifting communities that I've been around, really create that community very fast. They're all very supportive of each other. It's almost like a CrossFit community. So, I mean, I don't do CrossFit. I'm not a fan of CrossFit, but I will commend them on their sense of community. And powerlifters have that. So a lot of guys are creating these powerlifting gyms, building that community. And then as the gym starts getting bigger and it starts getting some success, they start buying accessory pieces. And before they know it, they've got a bodybuilding gym that's like a hybrid. They got a powerlifting gym. It's a hybrid bodybuilding gym. Like half the gym is powerlifting. I mean, and half of it's bodybuilding. I know people who have 3 gym memberships just so they can hit like legs at this gym and back at this gym. And this is the only good chest gym in town, but it doesn't have the best leg equipment or something. I was actually at a gym in Chicago that it's one gym but they have 2 different buildings on the same street. And one building is upper body and the other building is nothing but legs. And their leg building was sick. It was super cool.
Yeah, I feel like, was it 2 different like environments, or what, did it feel pretty similar?
The leg gym was honestly a little more amped up, had a little bit more hardcore vibe. Not that the upper body area wasn't cool, and I was doing legs that day, so I mean I did spend more time in the leg room. Well, and there's so many more cool pieces of equipment for legs. Like, you know, for chest, like, okay, there's this incline chest, this decline chest press, this flat bench chest press. You're laying down, you're sitting up. You know, there's not that many variations. You know, outside of going with Prime or some of the new Panada stuff, like a chest, you know, it's a chest press. Yes, some of them are better than others, but it's a chest press.
Going through all these gyms and seeing different equipment, new and old, and probably some that has, in some senses, been kind of like put together in a sense. Have you kind of like jotted down like, oh, if I ever, you know, create a home gym, or my dream gym would complete, you know, this would complete like all the pieces from this specific and that specific and this gym, this aspect, and this, you know, leg machine from here. Like, have you ever done that?
Not to that extent. Just because I really have zero desire to ever own a gym. So I don't go through it from that standpoint. But every time I go to a really cool gym, there are definitely pieces that I make mental note of. And I'm like, if I ever see this piece again, I'm going to use it. If I'm doing legs and somebody has the OG Paramount pendulum squat, that is the best one I've ever used. Super cool. If anybody has the Body Master Gen 1 hack squat, that is the only hack squat I've ever used that with my limited flexibility, I can get deep enough to really feel my quads and my hams and my glutes. That one is bar none the best hack squat I've ever used. So like there are pieces, and then, then there's some new pieces. If you can use anything from Prime, their stuff's just amazing. There's a weird Panada piece. I don't even know what it's called, but it's like this Panada glute piece that I used at Anarchy Gym up by Baltimore. And it's the only place I've ever seen it, but that thing crushed my glutes more than any other piece I've ever used. So if I ever see that piece again, I'm using it. Some of those pieces are incredibly rare, like, and sadly, but awesomely, like those old school pieces are becoming more and more popular. So at one point you could probably get a flex chest press for $800, $1,200. Now it's like $7,000 or $8,000 because people want them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's all supply and demand.
That's nuts.
Like I was at Hybrid Strength just outside of Toledo, Ohio. He was telling me he bought his Paramount pendulum squat for $800, and he's seen them on sale now for $8,000.
Goodness.
So it's supply and demand. People want them, and those old pieces everybody realizes that they don't make stuff like that anymore, and they have amazing strength curves. They're super cool pieces, and they don't get old. I mean, it's metal. Obviously, the more and more expensive equipment gets, the more and more that plays into business. But I think you'll see now that a lot of gyms are starting to, I use the word hybrid again. They're starting to like hybrid their equipment. Like at one point you would see a lot of old school gyms or a lot of new school gyms. Now you're starting to see gyms that have, they'll have some old school equipment, and then they'll have a few pieces of Arsenal and a few pieces of Prime and a few pieces of Atlantis, and maybe they got a piece from Panada, because it costs as much to get some of those old school pieces as it does to get some of the brand new stuff. And some of the the new stuff is just as good as the old stuff, if not better. It's just it's just equally as hard to get because, to get a piece of Prime equipment, it's like 54 weeks I heard last. So, you order it, you put down your money, and you get it, okay, next year. The great thing about most of these really good pieces is they're plate loaded and they're metal. So if they break, they can probably be fixed. I can't imagine, like, if I had a really cool piece of Flex, or I had a really old cool piece of Paramount or something like that, I'm not replacing it. I'm fixing it. You just got to make sure you do it right, so that just, safety. I think it's strictly on the owner. Okay. I haven't heard of anything like that. I know I've personally signed well over 200 liability waivers.
Yeah.
So anytime you go into a gym, you're signing a liability waiver that basically says if you get hurt, you're not going to sue them because their gym is safe, and if you get hurt, you're doing something stupid that you shouldn't be doing. Mm-hmm. And in most gyms, if somebody sees you doing something stupid that you're going to get hurt, they're going to stop you.
Yeah. That's that's the, I can only imagine, like, even if there was no legal implications on that, just the potential with the cameras and social media and, oh, look at this guy, and it's like, oh, well, he's at this gym, and, oh, well, they let their people do that. Like, I can only imagine, some of the PR nightmare that would be, even if there was no possible, ramifications.
Oh, yeah. If you look at social media, you see videos all the time of people doing ridiculously crazy things in the gym.
Right.
Just don't make any sense. Now, at the same time, you'll notice most of those things, they're being done on purple pieces of equipment. So if that says anything.
How do you rate and review a bodybuilding versus a powerlifting versus a
fitness center, bodybuilding gym, and powerlifting gym?
Yeah, like a fitness center. How do you rate those on a fair scale for what they are, I guess?
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
Well, at the beginning, we didn't have variations. And we quickly realized that you can't rate a fitness center against a bodybuilding gym because a fitness center is never going to have the amount of equipment that a good bodybuilding gym has, or the variety of equipment. They're just not. They have to have space for group fitness classes. They got to have space for way more cardio. Like a good bodybuilding gym maybe has a handful of cardio pieces, and that's it. They don't have big fancy locker rooms. They don't have, they're not taking up space with things for any kind of space except equipment. And they've got the biggest variety of equipment. So we put the biggest earnest on variety of equipment on bodybuilding gyms. So, for instance, there are three fitness centers down in Southern Virginia, the Fit Club. Will Crowder, amazing owner. I gave him a 4.5, probably could have gotten a 5 on variety of equipment because he's a fitness center. He has Panada, Atlantis, some Nautilus in there. He's got super cool equipment, but he's also got group fitness. He has tons of cardio. He's a fitness center. But to have that kind of equipment in a fitness center is pretty rare. Now, as a bodybuilding gym, that's probably a 4, not a 4.5 or 5. So we kind of require bodybuilding gyms to have more equipment. Powerlifting gyms, we always try to make sure they have enough racks, enough platforms, enough benches, and have enough accessory equipment that somebody could come in and get in a good workout without having to do the 3 main lifts. But the atmosphere is very different from each one too. If I go in a powerlifting gym and I don't walk in there and go, this is badass, it's a terrible atmosphere. Like powerlifting gyms just need to be hardcore because you're going in there to lift super heavy stuff. Like that's what they're designed for. And if you're walking in there and it's just a very friendly mom and pop kind of feel, like that's not what you're looking for in a powerlifting gym. And bodybuilding gyms are almost at that level. Like I love a good hardcore bodybuilding gym, but they're also, their vibe can be a little bit in the middle. Fitness centers need to be inviting. Because fitness centers is where a lot of people start in their fitness journey. And if they're not inviting, they're going to miss out on a lot of potential members. Mm-hmm. So they need to be, they can have a little edge to them. Like there was a gym in Laurel, Fitness Evolution. I just had Jose on our podcast, and he's taken his gym that's a fitness center, a really good fitness center, huge group fitness area, tons of cardio, but he's now adding like gym equipment. He's adding some arsenal. He's adding some really cool equipment and amping up that side of the gym where all the equipment is, but he's also keeping it very inviting for people to come in.
Does it become challenging if you're doing multiple gyms in a day to switch your own mindset on that and switch your own like thought pattern on, okay, first we went into a powerlifting gym and now we're maybe going to a fitness center. So I have to kind of get my mind around what to expect and that kind of thing.
It can be at times. I think the bigger thing, and you notice in any of my new reviews, I've started actually recording my thoughts of the gym at the gym, just so that when I leave the gym, I can clear my mind and go into the next gym like, okay, that gym's over. We got everything we needed. Let's start fresh. Because otherwise you're still thinking about the last gym and then you go to the new gym. The challenging part is like if you go to a really super cool gym and then you go to a gym that's just kind of mediocre, mm-hmm. It's tough not to see it as less than average. It could be an average gym, but after you just went to this super cool gym, it really seems less than average. Right. That does get a little challenging.
How does that play into you managing your own emotions and like expectations though? Like how do you play into that? How do you I guess use this idea that that could happen and actually like give them the best level-headed review, if you will?
I think it comes down to like trying to figure out, no matter where I am, like what are the positive points of this gym? Like I went to West Virginia, I went to True Performance. That was a super cool gym. And then I went to another gym that was really just run down and needed a lot of work, but they had a lot of really cool old school pieces. They needed to be fixed or they needed to have new pads. But I was able to like, okay, this gym does have a positive. The owners need to work on it, but it has some positives. So I always try to like, okay, what are the positives of this gym first? Like every gym that I've ever been to has some sort of positive. No gym I've ever been to yet has all negatives. I'm hoping I never run into that one. There are some gyms that are super shocking, like from what I expected. Like, do you know who Nathan Epler is? He's Olympia stage pro bodybuilder out of Indianapolis. He opened a gym. I was super excited about going. You know, I mean, this is an Olympia stage, like finalist bodybuilding gym. Like, I thought this was going to be the most hardcore, badass gym I've ever been in. Walk in, and it is don't get me wrong, it's a really good gym and a really good place to go in there and get in a hard, tough workout, but it's not intimidating. Like, Nathan did a really good job of creating a badass gym that's also inviting. And that was it took me a minute. I had to kind of like stop and go, okay, this is not what I expected, but let's refocus and go, all right, let's enjoy this gym for what it is, because it was a really cool gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In those situations, do you find yourself almost, you kind of mentioned like refocusing, but almost whether it be the one way or maybe to the other degree of like, okay, I thought this was going to be more laid back and it is kind of more intense. Do you find yourself going like, okay, let me like re-emotionalize myself to fit this space?
Oh, sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to like, yeah. And I always take all my photos first. I walk around the gym, take all my photos before I start working out, just so that I can really get the feel of the gym before I start working out. Kind of like get the feel and the vibe and things like that.
Mm-hmm. When you start to get into your workout, do you find though that sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't really see this space for what it was when I wasn't in the workout?
Sometimes, more times, it's like I walked around the gym, and especially like to me, organization is something that a lot of gym owners drastically undervalue. And I'll be walking around the gym and taking pictures, and I'll be like, oh, like that was a really cool piece. I'm doing chest today. That I want to hit that piece. Or I'll find this piece over here on the other side of the gym, this cool chest piece. And I'll start doing my workout. And I'm like, wait, like that piece is way over there. That piece is way over there. That piece is like in the back corner. I'm just going to stay over here. I'm going to get in my workout. I'm not running all over the gym to do chest. Or I'll forget about that piece that was in the back corner because it's in the back corner. And then I'm editing the video and looking at the photos. I'm like, oh, dang, I wanted to use that piece, but I forgot about it because it wasn't anywhere near the rest of the chest pieces. And I've talked to some gym owners that have actually split up their chest areas because, International Chest Day on Monday, the chest area was getting so packed that people couldn't really work out. So they moved the chest equipment to two different areas just so that there was more space in between the equipment and they could spread out everyone doing chest on Monday, not in one spot of the gym.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, but I applauded them because they were paying attention to their members, and they noticed that their members, a large portion of them, were doing the same body parts on the same day.
Are there a certain number of gyms that you would recommend? Like, okay, this person is someone who wants to kind of not necessarily do it to your degree, but they want to go and see some really cool gyms, but they don't want to go to 200 or 250 or 300 gyms to figure out which ones they are. Which ones would you recommend for that? Maybe more serious bodybuilder style, or someone maybe even interested in seeing more of a powerlifting gym. What are some ones that you would highly recommend for somebody?
So you mean like a bucket list?
Yeah.
All right. So of the gyms I've been to thus far, I mean, you can't not go to Bev Francis. I mean, walking around Bev Francis is just amazing. You've got photos all over the walls of all the pro bodybuilders throughout time who've been in that gym and worked out. And it's just amazing being in that gym and going, okay, I'm working out in a gym where every bodybuilder throughout time has been at one point or another. So that's super cool. Madhouse in Atlanta has more equipment than any gym on the planet. He has almost every piece that you can imagine. Like when I went there, I was walking around. I went there to do back, and I was walking around for like 10 minutes. And finally, one of the guys who was working, he's like, dude, you just got to pick something. You're getting on my nerves. I'm like, dude, how do I even like pick? He's like, just go use that one. I know you've never seen that one. I'm like, you're right. I've never seen that one. So he just has a ridiculous amount of equipment. I can't even put him into consideration and compare him to other gyms because nobody would ever get a 5 because he has so much more equipment. In the DC area, I think that Leo, who owns DMV Iron, does the mix of new school and old school better than anyone. He's got lots of the best old school equipment. He's got that new school vibe. He's got all of the best new school pieces. He really pays attention to what is the best piece out there and puts it in his gyms. And he does an amazing job. If you're into powerlifting, the two best powerlifting gyms I've ever been in are Madtown in Madison, Wisconsin. That gym is super cool. Dan has done a really sick job. It's a huge powerlifting gym. And then the bodybuilding side of it is almost as bigger than most gyms I've been in. So it's super cool. And then old school in Cleveland. TJ has a super cool gym there. I wanted to call it a bodybuilding gym just because so much of the gym is dedicated to the bodybuilding equipment. And all the members are like, we're a powerlifting gym. So I thought that was super cool.
In denial.
But those are some of the bigger gyms. There's also some super cool little gyms that I like to call them kind of terrier gyms. They're small, but they're feisty. Like Muscle City Gym down in Atlanta is a small, like really hardcore powerlifting gym. In Raleigh, Olympus Athletic Club. Creighton has it's only 10,000 square feet, but it's super badass. He's got some really cool equipment. Probably the biggest variety of equipment I've ever seen in a gym that's less than 10,000 square feet is America's Gym in Chicago. Oh, and you can't, if you're going to do a bucket list, you can't not include Quad's Gym in Chicago. I mean, it's 40,000 square feet of old school equipment in downtown Chicago.
Pretty unique spots that you've definitely seen so far. What are some ones that are still on the bucket list for you?
The biggest I need to get to the West Coast. Most of the gyms I've been to so far are east of the Mississippi. But still east of the Mississippi, I really want to get to MI40 down in Tampa. Tampa has a few really cool gyms that look amazing. I want to get to Power Build up in Philly. I want to get to Virginia Beach Iron. That one looks super cool. I want to get up to Pure Muscle and Fitness in Toronto. That could be the first international review. So, and then just Texas and California. The gyms in Texas and California just look so cool. I don't even want to follow them on Instagram because they make me want to I got to go there, and I just can't go there yet. I got to figure it out.
Yeah. And do you have a year plan, 2-year plan, 5-year plan in regards to how you want to kind of structure those things out?
We're figuring that out. We're kind of creating we got some things in the works that are hopefully going to start making Gym Informer a bit more of a business and start generating a little bit of resources so that then I can take those resources and go on more trips and go see more gyms so that I can give everyone more gym reviews.
It's a really cool and really interesting thing you're doing, definitely helping out both sides of the coin. So, best of luck and seeing that grow. And
well, I appreciate you having me on your podcast and thank you for all the kind words.
Absolutely. And if you want to, before you head out, if you want to share where people can find you and, follow along with what's going on, how can they do that?
All right. So right now, if you're on Instagram, we are gym.informer. It's also gym.informer on YouTube. And coming very soon, the website is up, but our reviews are not loaded yet. So by the end of the summer, you're going to be able to find a lot of our reviews on gyminformer.com.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.